Alright, Game Bears, it is time for a new episode of Unused Content and Games, and today, as the title says, we have Kirby Super Star, the original Kirby Super Star on the SNES. We will get to Kirby Super Star Ultra in the next episode of this series, but before we truly begin, at any point in this video, if you enjoy the content you see here, please consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on other game-related content such as this one. Anyways, let us begin with Unused Kirby graphics. Alright, Spitting Sprite. These two are rather strange, especially the second one. Both of them involve Kirby spitting out something, and only appear in the sprite set referenced when Kirby has no ability. The weird glow on the front of Kirby in the second sprite might suggest that he was supposed to use this when spitting out something hot. However, there's also a motion line, possibly a laser of some sort. Perhaps Kirby had some sort of laser attack or whatever in his base form. But let's get a closer look at these unused sprites. Here's a closer look at this one. Well, that one's too small. Just look at this. And I guess he's shooting it diagonally, too. Perhaps you could shoot lasers in multiple directions beforehand, before that was scrapped. And here's a closer look at this one. Maybe this laser attack could have been something similar to Hypernova and Triple Deluxe, perhaps? I don't know. Maybe it was a gimmick that Superstar had before the partner gimmick was made. And here's a closer look at this little picture over here with a giant blue icicle or something in the background. I don't know what that is. As the first one can be seen if you use a beam blast in the air after Dynablade is defeated in Dynablade, which causes the game to use Kirby's no copy sprite ID. Alright, Wheelie Victory Pose. That would have been cool to see. Wheelie Rider Kirby doing a victory pose. If you've played the game, then it's obvious that this should be used at the end of its dance, or when opening a treasure chest in the Great Cave Offensive. In the first of these cases, Kirby dismounts Wheelie. In the second, you either cannot open a treasure chest if the player is in control of Wheelie, or Kirby automatically dismounts Wheelie. If player 2 is in control, then an entirely different victory pose for the Wheelie Rider ability is used for both instances in Kirby Super Star Ultra. And here's a closer look at this unused sprite. Don't know why this wasn't used in the original or in the DS remake. Alright, unused beam / unused mirror sprite. This little sprite over here kind of looks like the downwards kick attack that the ninja ability has. Found among mirror Kirby sprites in the beam / mirror ability sprite set, the base sprite minus the hat and palette is identical to one of the ninja's ability pose. This may be part of a scrapped aerial attack as the mirror ability doesn't have any unique ones. And here's the same for the Samira variant, or just the enemy variant of mirror. And closer look at Samira's sprite. Among Plasma with sprites, these frames would wound up unused. Plasma Kirby gets a different pose while idle. I'm pretty sure the sprite was later used in Superstar Ultra. Plasma Kirby gets a different idle sprite, where he emits energy around him at max charge, replacing the idle. Plasma Wisp oddly didn't have this ability on him, but they had sprites made for such a mechanic. Only the first one is used, this one over here, while the player 2, I can't read. When player 2 is selecting their helper with X in Milky Way Wishes, as he has a unique pose instead of just jumping. Plasma Wisp will get a different unique pose in the remake. And let's get a closer look at these sprites. Kinda wish they were zoomed in a little more. Real enough only shows 4 of those sprites. Alright, unused map graphics. Cursor. 2 cursors that are loaded with the main menu, likely left over from an earlier version of the game's select menu. And here's a closer look at this cursor. Yeah, it's kind of blinking a little bit. They could have slowed down the blinking a bit. There might be some epileptic people in the audience, man. That's a little rude. But anyways. Alright, locked. Great Cave Offensive. These tiles are found in the main menu graphics block. This is the same graphical style used for locked games. At one point, the Great Cave Offensive would have to be unlocked. In the final game, it's more of 6 games available from the start. And here's what that would have looked like if it was locked away before unlocking it. Alright, the game's name appears as a sprite in VRAM. Since it's never seen in-game, it remains untranslated in the US and European versions. And a closer look at this, in Japanese text, with a star in the middle. Actually, no, it's just more Japanese text. Thought that was a star for a second. How it would have appeared in the menu, and this is what it would have looked like. It's kind of grayed out too, though the Japanese text shows what's there until you unlock it once you beat the other modes. Alright, scythe. Some kind of scythe, or sickle or something. It could be either. Is actually used... its actual use is unknown. Most likely for, my guess is this could have been something scrapped like it says over here for the Great Cave Offensive. Most likely related to the Great Cave Offensive, but it could have also been perhaps a scythe ability, you know, similar to sword or parasol, and you could have probably used it underwater. And maybe this sprite over here, let's get a closer look at it, could be an unused, like, little sprite when you discard your item, and you already have a partner, and Kirby can maybe suck it back up to get the sickle ability, or maybe there could have been some sort of unused sickle enemy. That's my guess what this could have been for. Alright, text, area, with a minus sign next to it. Most likely used in the Great Cave Offensive's description box. It's the only game with large areas inside of stages. Alright, let's look at this bit of text. It's probably going to be really small on the other screen. Yes, it is. You probably can't see that. Chapter. The only game that uses a chapter system is Revenge of Meta Knight. This was possibly used as a in that game's description box to show your progress. And here's a closer look at it. I mean, Meta Knightmare's Revenge, or Meta Knight's Revenge, didn't have that, it wasn't that long. If you see my Super Star Ultra playthrough, it's only like, what, about a half hour long? Like, you go through the chapters pretty quickly, I think, so maybe that's why it got scrapped, because it wouldn't have much use for chapter 1, 2, 3, it would just go by too quickly. No idea on this one. Well, it says credits, so my guess this could have been used for the credits at the end of a certain mode. Untranslated and unused in all versions. This translation translates to from the beginning. I'm sorry, I thought it was untranslated. Anyways, a new game option. Just some kanji text. Translates to stage. This could have been used anywhere. Translates to continue. Self-explanatory, really. Save point. Another menu graphic for the Great Cave Offensive, since that's the only time in the entire game you can actually save on the fly. Well, maybe not on the fly, but in a certain area. No other mode in Kirby Super Star, and by extension, Super Star Ultra has this. Though the other modes do have autosave features if you decide to leave in the middle, like in Dynablade or in Revenge of Meta Knight. Alright, tutorial sprites. A little shield-looking thing here. A smaller version of the Shoshinsha mark icon used in the Japanese version's title or tutorial screen. And here's a closer look at it. Looks like some sort of shield. Alright, miscellaneous unused graphics. The arena pause screen logo, as you can see over here. In every pause screen, graphics of this miniature arena logo can be found along with those of the other subgames, as pause screen did not always appear during boss battles, and the arena is the game's boss endurance mode, or boss rush mode, some people call it. No pause screen exists for it. Despite its unused status, the logo was still localized for the international version. Here's the Japanese version of this logo. And then the English version, or international version, saying The Arena on it. And this would later be reused in Super Star Ultra. Cloud platform. This cloud platform is found in the same graphic set as the Cutter platform, the Launch platform, and Coconut. Its used is unknown, though like it's going to say down here, this could have been a scrapped endgame little minigame or whatever that most Kirby games have. That was later used in Return to Dreamland and by extension Return to Dreamland Deluxe. Though it may have been used for floating platforms. The Cutter platform is used for floating platforms in the final game. Interestingly, platforms with nearly identical design were ones later used in Kirby's Return to Dreamland. So I guess that could have been a thing in like a cloudy area, if y'all remember my Return to Dreamland playthrough. With the platform clouds, and you could cut those using the Cutter or Sword ability, so something like that could have existed here and later on in Super Star Ultra. They also act just like the Cutter platforms. Alright, here's the crowd that's seen during the King DDD boss fight in Spring Breeze. With Mario, Peach, Bowser, apparently Bowser's back there, he's not in there in the DS remake. A Waddle Doo, a Poppy Bro Jr., Birdo, Luigi, a Waddle Dee, and a Toad. And they have two different sprites. Well, technically not unused. Some members of the crowd in King Dedede's arena are not seen because they're cut off by the stage border. Maybe that's the case in Super Star Ultra as well. Never knew that. You learn something new every day. Piper Bros Jr. and Bowser are out of view, and most of Princess Peach's as well. And here's a closer look at the crowd. The sprite for the crowd does look a little different, like Mario has slightly shinier eyes, it looks like, and the Piper Bro Jr. looks a bit different. While in the final version, Fiber Bro Jr. looks more anime-ish, if you will. Mario has darker eyes, and everyone else here, especially the Waddle Doo, has a different sprite compared to the early crowd version. Alright, however, this definitely isn't used during normal play. This early version of the crowd is what the level initially loads, until instantly triggering the QOTD loader sprite, which is invisible in place when Kirby spawns. Waddle Doo, and Papa Bros Jr. all look different. In fact, they're all based on artwork from Kirby's Dreamland. Mario's rampant bloodlust was toned down. Rampant bloodlust, okay. Toned down for the final version. Luigi's swollen face was fixed. Yeah, you can see that here. Luigi's face does look a little fatter, while in the final version it looks a bit slimmer, and then Mario does look kind of pissed here, actually. And he looks much calmer in the final version. So that's probably what they meant by rampant bloodlust, but whatever. Our filler graphics. These kanji characters are loaded to verm at the start of the game, and are overwritten with food graphics when levels are loaded. It translates as, appropriately enough, food. Here's a closer look at that. These hexadecimal, I can't speak, characters are used in foreground tile sets as filler. Just a bunch of numbers and letters, that's all it is. Doesn't seem too important. Probably for testing purposes. Alright, the gold medal. This gold medal is stored with the planets in Milky Way wishes. Its intended use might have been to mark the planets were 100% completed, because that same coin I'm pretty sure is used in Great Cave Offensive. A similar medal is used in Kirby Super Star Ultra to mark areas in which all treasures have been collected in the Great Cave Offensive. I guess that wasn't in the original Superstar, so how would you know if you got... Well, I guess because of the pause screen you'd know if you had all the treasures. But I guess that's just as another way to tell you have every single treasure in said area. Alright, icon graphics. Alright, let's get a closer look at that gold medal real fast. I kind of like this sprite, looks good. Anyways, like we were doing a second ago, icon graphics. Translates to goal. This icon and the ones below suggest that at least one of the subgames would have stages split into levels, as in Kirby's Adventure. Said game uses a goal icon when a normal stage is completed, and here's a closer look at this one. Once again, that sprite's a little small. Our translates to clear. Kirby's Adventure uses a clear icon when a boss stage, and thus a level, is beaten. Here's a closer look at that. Kirby would have a top hat, which would later be used in Kirby Squeak Squad with the magic ability. Really enough, the only Kirby game with that ability. That really should return in a future game, but whatever. Alright, translates to anger, wrath, or rage. Obviously, Kirby would somehow get angry. And you could probably piss him off, probably steal his food or something. You don't do that with Kirby, man. But anyways. Mega Sudden Punch Point values. Alright, here's a closer look at these sprites. 5M and 1M. Or actually, that says 5,000 and 10,000. I thought those zeros were M's. Alright, sprites for the number 5,000 and 1,000 can be found in Megaton Punch's menu, and results screen graphics. They resemble the point values awarded for beating a minigame in Kirby's Adventure. So the original intent may have been for Megaton Punch to be entered from one of the other subgames. Alright, Meta Knight's bats. Something I'm pretty sure Meta Knight can't do is summon bats, but alright. Maybe it's something he was initially going to be able to do. Loaded during the Halberd escape at the end of Revenge of Meta Knight, Meta Knight presumably used them as projectiles, which I'm glad they scrapped because imagine him summoning bats out of his cap. Imagine that in Smash Bros. Oh boy. But here's a closer look at them. Alright, unused Shot Zone sprites. A good 2/3 of Shot Zone's frames are unused. Maybe because Shot Zone only has sprites that turn in 5 different directions instead of being able to go backwards and in the foreground, it looks like. Or the background, I should say, and then one for the foreground. Perhaps this could have been like an early version of the 2.5D gimmicks that we see in the 3DS Kirby games. Something like that. Probably where that was introduced from. Or inspired by this. Normally, it faces left or right and aims forward. Diagonally or straight up. The unused sprites have it facing in many directions that aren't really suitable for a two-dimensional platforming. Maybe it could have originally been 2.5D, like I said before. Anyways, here's a... well, it's all a collection? Yes, it is. Here's a closer look at all of the Shot Zones. Maybe there could have also been blocks they could hit in the background, perhaps, and they would jump up into the foreground to hit Kirby. That's another thing. But I don't know. The SNES, I don't think would have been strong enough to handle something like that, or optimized enough for it. Our Waddle Dee. Unused sprites for Waddle Dee from a swing animation. In Kirby Super Star Ultra, Revenge of the King campaign, Waddle Dees can be observed swinging on ropes. This can be re-added to the game via a level editor by changing the object's ID for a swinging Waddle Dee from 32 to 31, which is the code used to get said unused sprite. And here it is, and nice to know these sprites were reused in Revenge of the King. Always cool when they remake a game and they go back on old scrapped ideas. Alright, unused background tiles. Tiles for unused scenery can be found compressed at the Super NES address DF14FF in the U, with parentheses, version ROM. No palette data or tile mapping exists for this. And here is this amalgam of broken sprites. Always good when you see this, right? And finally, this here background. However, based on the order of these files in the tile sets, this mock-up of a layout could be created. The custom palette was partially based off of the ones used by the first area of Green Greens, and does not exist in the game. Excuse me. As the background and foreground are on the same layer, these graphics were likely intended for a cutscene. And here's a closer look at this here background. Could have been used for gourmet race, maybe? I don't really know. But anyways, well, that's all the unused content I could find of the original Kirby Super Star. In the next episode, we will do unused content in Kirby Super Star Ultra. So if y'all enjoyed this and you want to see more, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And answer the question of the day for these videos as usual. Of all the unused content we went through, which one would you have liked to see in the final game and why? I guess for me, either this wheelie Kirby victory pose or one of those mirror attacks. We could have seen those in the DS remake as well. As you guys know, that is my second favorite Kirby game behind Return to Dreamland. But anyways, thank y'all for watching and have a berrific day.